You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 21st meeting for the Michigan City Port Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Board of Directors meeting, April 21st. I call the meeting to order. I'm looking for approval or corrections of April 7th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as presented for April 7th, 2025.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody, any comments from the public just right now?
No.
No, okay, good. All right, reports from our harbor master, Mr. Frame.
All right. Well, the Corps of Engineer dredging project is expected to finish up this week. Today, a Corps of Engineer survey boat came in, I presume to do the after dredge survey. King Company has not started taking their discharge pipe down yet, but I think it's by the end of the week they'll be out of the way just in time for the fishing tournament. Also, since last time, we met up with Environmental Incorporated and we took 7 soil samples in Trail Creek, and that was for the continuing the dredge permit for Trail Creek. So that's all been taken care of and is in the works. And in the meantime, we're finishing up last minute things for spring. So we have all the water turned on, we have the bathrooms all up and running, took care of a few leaks here and there, and now we're transitioning over to doing work orders. We have a handful of dock raising and lowering, primarily lowering, that we're going to try to knock out this week. And it's, boating season. So there you go. Unless anybody has any questions.
What's the outlook for the water level coming up in spring and summer? Do you have any information?
As far as how many inches? No. It is higher than it was last month,
Okay.
but it's less than it was a year ago.
Okay.
So
Well,
depending on the day, and which way the wind's blowing, it's either down a lot or a little.
but the summer, we're not looking for any drastic change.
No, it'll probably be 6 or 8 inches lower than it was last year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. President. Yes.
The core samples,
Right?
when do we expect to get a answer back on what's going on there?
I don't have an answer, but I'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once we get that back, plus the final report that engineers will be doing, we'll be hopefully in good shape for about 5 years or so. Good.
Yeah.
Mary, reports from the Assistant Harbor Master of Administration, Mrs. Clinton.
We're taking the workers, the boaters come in, also for raising or lowering the piers, and then we have to contact their pier partner to make sure that they're okay with that, so that one doesn't want it up and one wants it down. So come to an agreement on that. We've had tournament questions and tournament reservations. At this time, we've got about 12 that are coming in and staying this weekend through the big tournament. That's all I have.
Question, how are we doing on, not reservations, but just normal bookings for the summer?
We're doing okay with
Normal like last
that's
couple of years?
normal. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Still have a little room?
On certain size slips.
Nothing really big difference from
No
last
big
couple of years.
difference, no.
Thank you.
People are calling every day.
All right. Mr. Ferguson, Budget and Financial Oversight, Review and Approval of the bills to be paid.
A couple things, Mr. President. Let's take a look at the bill. Pretty straightforward here. Let's take a look at the cover page. Those are the main items, and they cover $26,500 of the 28,598.31. So this includes everything except a couple $1,000. As you can see, is listed. The small ones are listed on the next page. Going down this list, it's pretty straightforward. second one, the financial, Elin Financial, you see a bunch of new umbrellas we got for about half of that amount. Bathroom supplies, security, just normal stuff, Republic Services for trash, Securitas Technology for $4,700 and change, upgrades to the gate locking mechanisms, just upgrades, nothing particularly new. And got a few refunds, all that totals, and as I said, a couple of thousand on the second page, but all that totals $28,598.31. And with that, I'll make a motion that we accept the bills as stated.
And I'll second his motion.
On these security upgrades, is that gonna change the way we come in and go out here?
No,
No.
No?
no, it was mostly software stuff in the program that runs the key system.
Okay,
Right, so we had some database issues. They updated to a newer software version and,
okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor of paying the bills? Anything else, Mr. Ferguson?
I have the results, the financial results from last year. I'm going to pass those out and back to Joe.
Thank you.
Danny? Kim?
I thought you already knew this stuff, didn't you?
Thanks.
As I've done the last couple of years, I'm not going through a bunch of, really much of anything on these, except to explain what the pages detail. Obviously, there's a cover page here that lists what the balances were at the end of the year. You can see what we show as capital and operating funds, et cetera, just regular information we have on this page. As I started to say earlier, I'd like to pass this out with just very minimal conversation. Have your people take a look at it. We'll answer questions as they come in over the next couple of weeks or during the meeting next week, the next meeting. But anyway, you can see capital roughly $1.5 million there. That does not include what we will be adding from last year being 2024, because this didn't happen until we moved in. This report didn't happen until we moved in this year. But as you'll see if you look at this, we have an excess of revenue in the neighborhood of about $600,000 last year, so we'll be adding that to the capital. All right, just take a quick look at the next page. You can see. Let's take a look at the columns. This is the income page. You can see that the columns represent the plan, or what we call the budget, but it's the plan. And then 2023 results, 2024 results. And the same type of information on the next 2 pages, 2.5 pages, the backside, as we look at expenditures. So take a look at all that. If you have any questions, as I say, don't hesitate to either contact me or wait till the meeting, the next meeting, we'll go over to that. Don't need to take up a whole bunch of time here. And that being said, I think that's all I have to say, Mr. President.
Mr. Haynes is not in. Port operations personnel, pretty much just status quo. I mean, until we get more people moving around, there's not much more happening. The summer help will be coming here as it gets warmer. So pretty much just standard operation. So Mr. Messina, Board of Communication and Special Events, you're cooking, you got things going on.
Yeah, we do. I checked with Mrs. Pilecki, we are receiving fuel probably this week, later on this week, to make sure we don't run out of fuel during the Classic or during our Pro-Am fishing tournaments. Saturday is our first tournament that the Colo Club runs here, pending weather. We don't know that. Fish are here. A lot of salmon, pretty much out front, all the way down to New Buffalo and back to Burns Harbor, so a lot of fish around. I don't have any other notes written down. We did use the cleaning station Saturday, and everything there worked fine, and it was nice and clean, we took care of it, so. I have nothing else.
Nothing else? All right. Mr. Manor, Master Planning Special Projects at Park Lakeville.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Mr. Cypress, Advertising and Public Relations.
Our attorney sent me an email, and Tim, I actually copied all of us on it. Well, actually, Tim, myself, Socrates, and Bruce, and that was on the question that Bruce brought up about fishing on the wall and whether we have a problem with that, with putting signage up and things of that nature. And basically, it looks like we've arrived at the conclusion that we do not have an issue with, based on DNR regulations and so on and so forth. So, good info, good to know. That being said, I don't know if we want to go ahead and make a motion to add signage to that wall along with the painting of boat mooring area and so on and so forth, but
We definitely want to start looking at a plan of how we're going to do it.
yep.
So, I want to make sure. Yeah. Do the outside.
How many signs would we be talking about that we feel is necessary?
I don't think you need any more than 6, quite honestly. Space them out properly. Because we're not trying to inhibit anybody from fishing. We just want to let
Absolutely
them,
not.
if somebody comes up with more, we just need you to move down.
Right.
You know, we're not trying to chase anybody off by any means. So we just want to make it friendly, so if somebody comes out from out of town, we got a place for them to land.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, that we can do that. I was just concerned legally whether we could do it or not. And we've got our answer for that, so I'm happy with that.
So we just start going easing into it, and you guys start taking a look and see, come up with a plan, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Moving along to the attorney report, Mr. Zachman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just further to Chris's comments, the basis for my conclusion that we have the authority to regulate the use of the property that is under our jurisdiction and any land that was in a reasonable distance thereof is from the statute, what we call the enabling statute, the statute which allows counties and municipalities to create a port authority in the first place. And it provides, it's Indiana Code Section 8-10-5-8, subpart A, subpart 4. Quote, a port authority is an instrumentality of the state and shall have full power and authority independent of any political subdivision to do the following. And subsection 4 is regulate and enforce the regulation of all uses and activities related to the port in the area under the jurisdiction of the Port Authority and determine the use of land adjacent to waters under the jurisdiction of the Port Authority within a reasonable distance from the shorelines of such waters. That's a pretty broad grant of authority, and because it's so broad and specific as to our powers, it operates to what we call preempt, and that means essentially trump any ordinance or regulation that is promulgated by an inferior governmental entity, such as a municipality. We have a state statute, we're an agency or an agent of the state. And so the state statute trumps a municipality's ordinance. And then I looked at the DNR's website, and they have some designated fishing areas, and I shared that with Mr. Frank. I don't think any of those designated areas are our area of concern. So even if the DNR had designated that area, I would submit that our enabling statute would trump that, and we would be able to regulate that area. I didn't find anything in any ordinance. I didn't find anything in any of the documents that I had available to me suggesting that there is any law or regulation out there saying we must allow fishing. And this statute certainly says we get to decide what goes on the land under our jurisdiction. The only other thing I have is, and I emailed this around to the board members, is on April 17th, I received a letter from the attorney who was representing the Michigan City Yacht Club. And the Yacht Club has made a proposal here. Essentially, it's a counter proposal to the lease. I'll just alert the board members to what it is. If we want to have any discussion on this, we can certainly do it in an executive session, or the board, it's up to the board. If the board wants to talk about it in open session, that certainly is prerogative. But this, again, because it's the discussion of a lease, can be done in executive session. So he writes, as was shared 2 weeks ago, there are 2 other groups who routinely use the pavilion in town besides my client. Recognizing that he's referring to the, I think it's the Coho Club, and then what I recall as being the Sailing Club. My client is suggesting 2 alternatives with regards to the pavilion. My client would maintain, quote, leased control over the pavilion and would pay an additional $4,000 per year to the Port Authority for said use. 2, the alternative would be to remove the pavilion from the lease, which we've done, as well as the area on either side of the lease for maintenance. Now, I don't know what maintenance they do on either side of the pavilion, but what they're saying is remove the pavilion, and that is, of course, our proposal anyway. If alternative 2 is selected, that's removing the pavilion, it does not make sense that an island is created to be maintained and controlled by the Port Authority, while my client is obliged to maintain the area surrounding the same. In conjunction with the removal of both the pavilion and the area surrounding the pavilion, my client would retain the right to use the pavilion 8 times a year at the rate of $150 per day per use. In addition, recognizing that there is a significant amount of area surrounding the pavilion that my client does not need to lease or maintain, there would be a reduction from the monthly rental rate in the amount of $100, making the monthly rent $1,100. And then he had some issue about a portion of the parking that is afforded to, on a non-exclusive basis, to the Yacht Club for the use of its members and invitees. Mr. Frame pointed out that we may now have that portion under our jurisdiction. We may even have ownership of it when we partnered with, was it the Park Department? Mm-hmm. Yeah, to build the new lot. I think this became ours.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the counter proposal from Yacht Club. As I think I advised the board in a prior meeting, April 4th was the date that started the 30-day running of the time within which we have to negotiate a lease. So there's still some time left, but that's the counter proposal from the Yacht Club. So again, if the board wants to have a discussion about this, it can do so in an executive session. We have to give 48 hours prior notice, or whatever the board's decision is, they can talk about it today in open session.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until till we can get together and meet and talk about it. I don't think we should talk about it in an open session. So that would be my motion, to table this until we have an executive session and decide how we're going to deal with this.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're stating we do need an executive
Yes.
session? Yeah,
Yes.
that's my feelings too.
So it's about Friday morning work for everybody?
Friday morning's okay with me.
I think I'm good. If not, I'll move some things around.
Okay.
What time?
Friday morning, what this will. Could we do 9 o'clock Friday?
No.
No. What time? For you, for
When do we have the last one? Like 1 o'clock or something, 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock would work perfect for me.
When you get off,
I
right?
think 2 o'clock, yeah.
If that's better for everybody, it is for me. And I'd like to be there.
What time?
2 o'clock Friday?
I'm gonna have to check, I don't know.
Okay.
I can do 9, I know that, but I don't know if I can do 2.
Well, we have to, we can phone in.
Okay.
You can do 2?
I can do 2.
Yeah, I'll make it. I'll take my late lunch.
Sounds good. And that's all I have.
That's all you have?
Comment. We've decided to have an executive session to go in this. A lot of people have put a lot of time into getting us this far. I think it behooves us as a board that we do our best and read this document, do our best to understand it, so that when we move forward to do whatever we're going to do, we'll have a little bit more than just a casual understanding of what's happening. I'm sure Joe and Socrates will be able to explain perhaps a little bit more what's going on here on this new document, but we need to do our job here also, the rest of the board. That's all I have.
All right, anybody have any new business they'd like to bring up? And no new business? All right, old business, we had nothing on here, tabled the signed docs, so work with the committee, Chris, to kind of get everything, a good plan in place so we can bring it up.
Okay.
All right, any comments from the guests?
I believe so. I'm hearing some things, of course. I'm past president of the sailing school, Michigan City Sailing School, also known as the South Shore Nautical Education Foundation. Of course, we have a keen interest in the pavilion, and we have been using that as a headquarters for our entire school. We use it for 6 weeks during the summer, 8 weeks during the summertime. As I hear executive sessions with coming up with the lease of the pavilion, and now again with the yacht club and so forth, and then I understand from what I heard at the last meeting that the yacht club representative did attend or was part of the executive session. We also have an interest in that, and I want to make that known to the board. We have, over the years, with the Port Authority's approval, I think about 7, 8, 9 years ago, put up the lockers at the end in conjunction with the Colo Club, who built the stage, if you will, or the platform that is used. So there are other things other than just the yacht club having sole control of that pavilion. And if those things come into the forefront, and if it's something different than the Port Authority maintaining control of the pavilion, we do have an interest in that, and I want to make that known. We had a very good agreement with the holdings company when they were in control of it. We've had very wonderful relationship with the Port Authority for our entire program, and I'm a bit concerned that I don't know what's going on because we've not been made a part of any negotiation whatsoever. So we do have an interest also. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have anything else?
2 o'clock Friday.
2 o'clock, right?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Item 25.